Hey guys, and welcome to the vlog. Alright, this is a special one to start off the year. I've got this lovely little conversion here, my Chaos Dwarf Sorcerer Lord, who I'm using as a Sorcerer Lord for my Warriors of Chaos army in Old World, and Hashut inspired. And yeah, this is a really cool one. It's my first sort of, I guess, a slightly more extensive conversion, in a while, so I'm pretty happy with that. He's got some nice little tweaks there to this Warcry model. I think it's a Fire Slayer's Warcry model from AOS, or Warcry, and yeah, I think it's a really fun one. He's got the bull horns and everything, and there's little details on here like little Hashut symbols and so on that I've put on, and yeah, just jazzed him up, gave him his tactical rock, so that's cool. He's magnetized, so you can hopefully in the future we'll be able to do some other mounts for him. Yeah, I've got some plans for this one, so I think that's really exciting. So we're going to be painting him up today while we have our chat, and our sort of informal topic will be on converting your heroes, which is I think appropriate for what I'm doing here and who I'm painting. So I think that's really cool. But we've got a lot of news to talk about. It's been a pretty eventful start to the year, so I think that's really cool. Hobby news, Blight of Gods news, my own brand, and channel news. So we'll get into all of that. But yeah, this one's going to be really fun. So it'll be done in my usual custom scheme for these Hashut Chaos Warriors. But yeah, pretty cool. So anyway, let's get started, eh? Well, what a start to the year. Yeah, it's been eventful. There's a lot going on, not just in the hobby, but around the world too, in the real world. But in the hobby world, it's pretty busy. And for me personally as well, for just everything that I've been doing, it's been a pretty busy time. But yeah, some fun things have occurred. We've done some really cool videos. We'll talk about that more in the channel news. And I've been hard at work on some Blight of Gods stuff. Basically finalizing my rules for my game for that brand and so on, but we'll talk about that more in a moment. But that's been a lot of work starting into the year over the last few months, but there's a lot going on, and I've been doing a lot of things behind the scenes to get ready for some good videos for the year and so on, and like this conversion that you're seeing me paint up right now, and all of that. So that's been really fun to get into that and set up some good things for the year, which I think is really fun. It's certainly starting out to be a better year for me than last year. Last year's a bit of an up and down sort of year. This one seems to be going along a little bit at a better pace, which is really cool. Just for me personally. But yeah, so it's looking good. It's looking good. It's a good start to the year, and there's some nice things for AOS coming. We've got a new season, new rules, which we'll talk about in a second. There's quite a lot going on, so that's really cool. It's some positive things, and things like Corvus Belli, their new Warcry game, and new edition of their Infinity game. I think that's now it's N5, isn't it? Yeah, but there's some new models there. We'll be talking about that too. So I think we'll get onto this hobby news and go through it. But we'll start with AOS and go through some of the cool releases that I think have been great. Namely Soul Blight. That's a really big one. You'll be seeing more of that on the channel. But yeah, we'll get into that now. So yeah, hobby news. So we've got AOS, and for this edition, in 4th edition, we're now moving into the Scourge or Scourge or whatever it is, Scourge of Gyran, something like that. Anyway, it's the new General's Handbook for 2025, 2026, and so it should be a year long. And we're starting to see some new rules and things coming out, some new developments. So that's really interesting. We've just, by the time this video comes out, we should have had I think probably 2, maybe even 3 or 4 by the time that this one releases, new rules for each of the armies. So with this new General's Handbook, we're seeing new war scrolls, items, etc., artifacts of power, and so on. But it's also, as you would have seen from the Stormcast and Skaven one, at least, that there is a variance between each one. So that's pretty interesting. It's looking positive for the year. I think it's definitely an improvement, but we'll see what happens with it. and see how the new General's Handbook works. We've got changes to battle tactics, that scoring, that sort of thing. But I'm hoping that these new additions, War Scrolls, etc., open up new options for list building, because list building is one of those main areas that I really love, and I know many people do. It's a huge part of the game, and I think that that's an important thing for them to be, working on that and endeavoring to make that as fun an option for as part of the game as possible as we move into the meat and potatoes of 4th edition, the middle part of its life cycle. It's good to see that they're targeting that, and those new War Scrolls and sort of updates are all free PDF downloads, which is really nice to see. So if you haven't looked at that, go to the Warhammer community website and you'll see the downloads there in the Age of Sigmar section, and you can start digging into some of that. So I think that's really fun, and we're going to see these new War Scroll sort of add-ons come out for each faction up until the release of the General's Handbook, which we've seen sometime towards the end of June, but beginning of July, roughly. So I think that's really interesting. That's great. Then we have so alongside that, we've seen the Soul Blight release. Now with that, that's pretty awesome. It's something that I think we've all known. I think I remember talking about this when they released that Underworld's Warband, those whites that they did, and you could see the future, what was coming for Soul Blight, and lo and behold, we're seeing it now, and it's definitely along the same lines as that, and Curse City and so on. That sort of vibe. There's a lot of those similar design aesthetics throughout these new models, especially the Underworld's Warband. That's one that really reflects a lot of the design work here, and it's definitely in my vein. I love undead. I've got an entire brand devoted to undead and necromancy and all of that, and this is no different. I love it. So it's definitely something you're going to see more on the channel. I've just done a whole range of videos on vampires and the different paint schemes and so on that I've been doing, different techniques. So we're going to continue that vein, and you'll be seeing more of that. We'll talk about the channel news in a second, but yeah, definitely some really great releases there for Soul Blight. So moving on, we'll move into some 40k news now. Now again, it's been a pretty eventful start to the year. We've got Slaanesh and we've got Space War. So we'll start with Slaanesh. What a great bunch of minis. I mean, for anyone that loves the Chaos Gods, this is a really great addition to that range, and really rounds it out. So now we've got the Khorne, we've got Thousand Suns, Death Guard Nurgle, and Slaanesh, and what a great bunch of releases. I think overall anyone that plays Slaanesh will be really happy. It's one of those factions. I really love Slaanesh. I think I like it more in the fantasy setting than I do in the 40k setting, but some of the models in the range are really cool, and I can imagine for anyone that loves it, that's going to be really fun to paint. But yeah, for me, I think my preferred version of Slaanesh is in the fantasy setting. But yeah, definitely cool bunch of models. And then we've got Space Wolves. So Space Wolves have been a great addition too, because I think Space Wolves have needed this sort of little uptick in their range for quite a while, and I'm sure that there's more coming for them in the future now that they've done this release. So normally when they do these sort of designs, there's normally a whole batch of them that they do. They don't always release them at the same time, so you'll probably see some more, I would imagine, in the future that they would have already designed or put in for future releases. So that's a really nice addition to upgrade some of these old models and so on, and get a fresh look for Space Wolves. So that's cool. So all in all, both 40k and AOS are looking pretty healthy and pretty good for this year, and the sort of releases that we're seeing come out. So that's really lovely. And then finally, we've got Corvus Belli, and we've got Warcrow and a new version of Infinity, and specifically the Yu Jing. We'll start with that since that's my faction, and you've been seeing a few videos on the channel, and they've got some great new models. So you're definitely going to see some more. We'll dig into some more Yu Jing, and maybe I'll branch out and do a second faction and maybe a different color scheme or two to throw it in there for those of you out there that really enjoy the Infinity stuff. But we'll talk about that more in a second. But I think as far as the release goes for Yu Jing, pretty cool. I'm liking that weird little creature that they've got in that set, and I think that's really good. So I like when they blend. I think I've talked about this before with Infinity. I like when they blend the fantasy and the sci-fi together and do these sort of like hybrid designs like that, like with these sort of like the wolf suit and so on, and the battle kitty I did a while ago. I like those sorts of things. That makes them really fun. So that's definitely a positive for me. And then we've got in Warcrow, we've got these new wood elves. Now I don't know how to pronounce their names. Sainan or Sainan, or I don't know how to pronounce it, but anyway, the wood elves for their game looking really cool. So I'm looking forward to mucking around with that, I think, in the future. I've got some ideas for a cool color scheme for them. So once again, custom scheme. Won't be doing the standard. It'll be something unique, but a pretty cool idea, I think, for that one. So yeah, I think that really covers all of the hobby news, currently for this year. But a healthy dose of new minis and hobby content to get into, which is really cool. So I'm really liking the way 2025 is going for the hobby generally. I think that's a really positive thing to start out with. So yeah, all in all, really cool. So now we'll move on to my own hobby news stuff, which is the Blight of Gods brand, and we'll talk about that. All right, so Blight of Gods news. So it's been a very eventful start, even though there's been nothing new released. If anyone's been going to the website and checking it out, it's blightofgods.net or .com, and you'll see all my work there. And we have no new releases, so for this year, but I have been hard at work behind the scenes, working hard on this game I've been making for a very long time now. And as of this video, I can say that I've now done, so there's a final edit of the rules, and like all the written material is all done, which is great. It still needs some fine tuning and play testing and so on to adjust values and all that sort of thing. But the rule set is now done, and it's an ambitious project for one person. I can tell you that. It's been nearly something like 6 years I've been putting this together, and by the time it releases, which I'm looking probably something like early next year, so around this time next year is when I'll be wanting to release it. And yeah, it's looking really great. So it's a big boy. The rule book, it's basically going to be a single PDF, PDF that you'll have, and it's got the rules, army book, all of that stuff, missions, etc. And I think the total word count so far is over 50,000 words. So it's a big rule set, and currently just the words alone I think is nearly 200 pages. So but that includes everything. That's not just the rules, that's all the army books and so on. So it was a big undertaking to get a final edit of that done, but it's all done now. And so I'm currently working on the page layouts and that sort of thing, all the art that goes into these things. So that's really cool. And the logo and the front cover and so on is all done, and I'm working on the interior. So that's really great. So I'm very happy with that. So anyone that's interested in my brand and what I've been doing, we've got some really exciting release for next year. It should be awesome. It's a really cool game. I know everyone says that about their own thing that they make, but it's got some really nice mechanics in it, which I think fit really well in the genre and in the skirmish game genre. I think it sits alone. It's got its own unique, I guess, gaming loop or core mechanics, which aren't really out there at the moment in the combination that I've got them in, and in the way that it works. And I think that's really cool. So I'd give you like a very unique flavor for your gaming. So if you're looking for that sort of alternative game that's going to scratch that itch in a certain way, I think this game is definitely going to do that. And it is going to be agnostic friendly. So and a free rule set. So you'll be able to download the PDF. You'll have everything you need in one PDF. So all of it, the army lists, like the army writing, the missions, the rules, everything in one place. And it'll be a live rule set, so I'll be updating it and so on. So you'll get new versions, but it's all free, so you just download it. And technically you don't even need to buy anything from me. You can just use your own minis and make a board and so on, and away you go. It is a gridded board, so that is one difference. It is on a grid, so on squares. So that makes it a bit unique. Think like it's a bit bigger than a Blood Bowl pitch. So something that's a bit larger than that. I've designed it in a certain way so it fits onto a certain format, but I'll talk about that more once we get closer. But it makes it good for printing onto certain, like let's say mats, that sort of thing. I've designed it in a certain way. So, but yeah, really cool. And there are currently 10 factions in the game. So it's a big boy. It's got a lot in there. I think I've counted there's like 180 units, individual minis that you have in the game, and any single list that you write is, I think, currently 102 options. And as you pick certain things, it will scale down. I think your sort of active choices, once you've picked those few certain things, I think you're looking at around about between 40 and 60 options, like viable options for your list, and you have an army of 15 models. So that's all I'll reveal for now. But it's a lot of choices, and it's a lot of variety, and a lot of variation you can do with your list writing, and I think that's really great for a game like this, and gives a lot of depth for future and so on. I can play around with that a lot, and I've designed it so that I can actually increase the number of factions. So this game, in terms of depth, I can build it out to 30 factions if I want to, and I've already designed most of that I'm not going to release straight away. But in the future, it's definitely got good scope for more, and as it's agnostic friendly, meaning that you can use your own minis and so on and convert your own stuff, not just use mine. That allows me then to add more in without me needing to necessarily design it straight away. So the ultimate goal is to have a fully supported range of minis and so on, and on release I should at least have one faction fully done, and on the way to a second faction being released during that year. But yeah, it'll be a slower going process for me to sculpt all these by myself, but that's why I've chosen this sort of pathway. But I think that's a common thing these days. Agnostic friendly games are pretty widely supported and enjoyed by the community, and I think that's really cool. So it allows you to do your own hobby expression in the Blight of Gods universe. So it's going to be fun next year. I think that'll be a really exciting time, but I won't talk about any more about it. I could go on forever about it, but it fits a nice niche within the hobby setting. So I think that's cool. So yeah, we'll talk more about it as we get closer to the time. So I think that's it for the Blight of Gods news for now. Now we'll get on to some channel news. So channel news. Well, we had a pretty good start to the year. I mean, I've done a range of different topics. We've gone through some AOS stuff. We've gone through even some Infinity. There's been a nice grouping of minis so far, and some good topics and some good techniques and so on, and color work and that sort of thing, which I think is fun. And I'm really happy with what we've achieved so far on the channel. And I've got a lot more, obviously, to go, some exciting developments. So we've got, obviously, as you're seeing now, we've got a nice converted mini. There'll be some more conversions in the future. And I think as I talked about from the last vlog, from the Christmas vlog, we're going to see some heresy. So you've got my Night Lords project that I'm doing. There'll be some of that hopefully this year. We've got another heresy one as well. I think I said what it was, but it's going to be I've got this real thing for the Mark 6 armor and beakies, and I've always wanted to do some beaky Dark Angels. So we've got a project for that as well, but I won't talk more about it too much. But we're going to do some nice little conversion work and some things on that, and so hopefully those videos come out this year. I've at least got them planned to do, so you should see at least 1 or 2 videos for those. But yeah, it's looking really cool for the year. So future videos, as I said, we've got that 40k. I've got some interesting things there. I'm hopefully we're going to see some Necrons on the channel. I've got a few ideas for some metallic work on those, and obviously we'll continue the other schemes that I've got. So for Custodes, Harlequins and Eldar and so on, I've already done a few on the channel for those, and we'll continue those schemes and try them out on different unit types and so on. I know a lot of people enjoy to see the scheme done on the different types of units because it makes it easier to visualize. So I try to do that. So for Custodes, some of the bigger vehicles and so on, we'll try to tackle that. And I think I think I talked about this before, one of the dreadnoughts, but for even for Harlequins as well, maybe one of the jet bike type units or that sort of thing. And the new Eldar range is obviously awesome, so we'll do some of those as well, some of the Phoenix Lords, etc. So I've got some good things planned for that, and obviously more Infinity. I've already alluded to that earlier. We've got some Yujing, and I might branch out into some of the other factions. Warcrow as well. I'd like to do those Wood Elves. I've got a really nice idea for them, so that'll be really fun. We'll get a few of those videos on the channel, and obviously AOS. That's like a mainstay on the channel. There's a lot of that. Obviously Soul Blight. You're going to see a lot more videos for Soul Blight. I've been slowly branching out into some of the other death factions, so we've seen some more Flesh Eater Courts and so on, but I'm always looking at other schemes. Now after this you should see at least 2 Iron Jaws videos coming out shortly. They'll be the next ones, and we're looking at some skin tone stuff and doing some green skin tones, and then in the future we'll probably continue that. If I enjoy that process, I'll definitely be continuing. And you know, I was one of those big lovers of speed freaks in the old days of 40k. You know, the red goes faster, and I'm going to continue that theme with these orcs and going into the future, because I always used to love that, and I think that'll be a fun one to do on the armor for these. So like, you know, hopefully I haven't done it yet, but I'm hoping to do like the flames and the red armor and so on. I think that'll be fun, because you can imagine them all riding those big boars and so on, and doing a kind of speed freak sort of idea with Iron Jaws. I think it'd be pretty fun, but you know, we'll see how it goes. But there's definitely a couple of videos for them, and among others. So I've left the rest of the video sort of trajectory over the year to be open. So there's a few other projects I wouldn't mind doing, but I'm going to leave that up in the air and see what comes. So there's a lot of new releases that come with these games, and different companies producing. So I want to leave at least a few videos, a bit of a gap in the year where I can sort of play around with a few individual things. So Atomic Mass Games is always releasing new models, and a few other companies there that I'm interested in. So we'll see what happens, but you might get some, you know, some wildcard entries into the mix as well. As I said, for me, for Blight of Gods, there won't be, I don't think, any new minis this year. There might be a couple of videos I'll do if I manage to get. I've got basically 2 more mini releases for the Undying Cult that I've got on the website, and I might get them done this year. I'm not sure, but there might be a couple of videos for them too. So we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, it's looking like a really chock-a-blocked set of videos for the year, and I think that's really cool. In terms of tech and so on, as I've said before, I'm pretty happy with the setup. There might be some improvements, but probably not this year. I've been saving my cash and getting the idea of what I would like to do for improvements, but I'm not quite there yet in terms of what I would like to do and those sorts of things. So the tech on the tech side of the channel is staying the same, and the formats and so on I'm really happy with. But you know, if you've got any suggestions, you're always welcome to put those in the comments, and I do take them on board and try to incorporate them into the videos as best as I can. So yeah, so you're welcome to make suggestions. I'll certainly read them and listen to them. So yeah, so I think that's pretty cool. We're pretty good for the start of the year, and I think I'll stop all this waffling on, and we'll get into the you know, the meat and potatoes of this. We'll get into the main topic and talk about, you know, converting your heroes and getting into that, specifically to do with Old World, I guess, but in general, right? You know, to talk about, you know, the benefits of having your themed and stylized, you know, unique character or hero for your army. I think that's a really cool thing to do. So let's get into it, eh? So converting your heroes, well, it's a great topic, right? It's something that I think we all eventually get into. We start to personalize our minis, and I think that's like a really great thing. And some games, you know, it lends better, you know, to doing this than others. You know, obviously Old World is a perfect example of where, you know, it lends itself very well to personalizing your heroes and your minis to your own flavor and your own kind of narrative, and, you know, all those sorts of aspects that come into this sort of endeavor. But, you know, you can do it basically in any miniatures game. You can do it, but obviously, yeah, it works better in some games than others. And yeah, Old World's a great one for it. And, you know, I guess the first question is, you know, yes, it sounds great in theory, but I mean, why would you do it, or should you do it, or all those sorts of things? Those questions come up, and I guess as I just sort of said in the beginning, you know, you slowly get into this. The longer you stay in the hobby, you start to look at those sorts of things as options. I guess when you're beginning, the sheer volume of information and what you're getting into and the excitement and everything of the hobby sort of is everywhere and everything. And some people get into it right away, into like personalizing their minis, but others take some time. And I think that with time also you build up your skills, and that's when you're really able to sort of create the thing that you have in your mind, and you start to do that in the process, and you end up with something that's closer to what you envisage, right? And so that's pretty cool. But yeah, why would you do it? What's the point of it? Well, I think to begin with, the why is pretty simple. It personalizes your hobby experience more, and creates a closer connection to these little toy soldiers that you love, right? It's like playing with dolls, right? In the dollhouse, you give them a name and they become more personal to you. Well, here with the miniatures, with the war dollies, like doing the conversions and that sort of thing helps to personalize them and gives them a unique kind of journey. So when you're playing your games, it's more memorable, right? It's creating that little narrative with you and your mates, or wherever you play your games. It gets that sort of history behind it, and it's a mini that's only yours, and I think that's really cool. And that's kind of one of those things to why you would do it, or that sort of thing. And it just enriches your hobby experience, and I think that's a really fun aspect to this hobby. And with Old World, there's so many good choices for your heroes. Different mounts, different weapon choices. It really lends itself well. I did that video for my Soul Blight vampire, completing the dream where you have the vampire on foot and the vampire on the zombie dragon. Although RIP, the zombie dragon thing isn't in the Soul Blight book anymore, which sucks. But there we are. I can use it as I think as Vordry now. But it's still there. I can still use it. There is also a mounted vampire option now, so I can actually complete the dream, which we'll be doing a video on. I want to do a conversion for a mounted vampire mount for her. So that'll be really a fun video to do. But that's sort of digressing a little bit. But like that whole concept of having the same model on these different sorts of options is a really cool thing, and that's why I've magnetized my little Chaos Dwarf, so he can be on these different things, and so that further emphasizes that story. And I think that's one of the really great things about Old World, and one of the really great things about games like this, where you can have that same model in different modes, in different ways, and that helps to increase that narrative and that storyline that you have. And I think that's one of the really big, I guess, major positives or strengths of doing this. Why you would do it, or what would be the reason for it, is that you really get to build up some really fun history behind what you're doing, and I think that's a really cool thing. And also then there is the skill expression of that. So you get this really fun, set of extra skills as you sort of dabble in this, and it can be a very simple conversion. Like you've seen on the channel, I've done some very simple conversion, which is like a simple arm swap or head swap or that sort of thing, down to something like this where it's a bit more extensive. You're cutting parts of the model out, you're rebuilding them, you're modeling sections on the base, that sort of thing. You're magnetizing parts, you're doing all those sorts of slightly more complicated tasks, using 2-part epoxy putties like green stuff and others, milliput, etc. But you don't have to go as far as that. You can just do those simple ones where it's a head swap or a simple change, and that's a great way to get into it. And as you see on my channel, one of the easiest ways to customize your hero or without even converting is just by color scheme, right? I do that all the time. Custom schemes. This model has a custom scheme, and it's got 2 layers of customization, not just the physical converting of it, but also the painting of it. And that's another thing that you can do if you're a bit daunted by this process. Just to start with, you can begin by just customizing the paint scheme, and giving it a unique feel to it. And that's a really great way to start. But wherever you begin, you do build up this sort of set of skills that is sort of running parallel to the normal hobby skills. You start to, do these little putty jobs and little sculpting elements, and and just your ability to look at parts differently. So now when you're looking at all those little bits on your sprue or whatever, you start to look at things a little different. Oh, I could use that for this, or I could change something here, or I'll save that and use that on a completely different army, on a completely different project, and it'll be something really cool for that. And that's something very unique to creative process. So this is now sort of moving you into the art realm, right? So when an artist, is sort of developing work or developing artworks or developing their skills, this is sort of how they view the world generally. They look at the world around them in kind of this view. You're getting sort of a microcosm of how an artist works. They look at things differently. They look at objects around them in a unique way, which inspires them and gets them to produce their art, right? And that sort of unique vision or that prompts you, that sort of gets you looking at these objects differently, that's a really great skill to have. So the more you do it, the more that becomes a regular thing. You start looking at all the parts in a different way. You start to engage in it. And so it really does create this more unique space that you get to explore, and then you get all those skills that come with it. And I think that's a really big positive to doing this sort of exploring, this sort of customization of your heroes and so on. Is that exploration of creativity itself, and how it expresses itself on your minis and generally. And I think you'll find that it's a very positive experience, and one that you take through not just in your hobby life, but outside of that as well. It's just a great thing to get into, a very healthy practice, and I highly recommend it. So that's what I get, again, one of those really great strengths or positives to doing this. So another benefit of this is inspiration, both for yourself but also for others. So the impact that something like this has on someone else in the hobby in a positive way. So that's another really great reason to delve into this. Much like the intrepid person that takes on the process of being the dungeon master, right, or the GM in role play games, right? They've got to write the story and orchestrate everything to give everyone else a really great experience, right? It's a very sort of selfless and giving task. I mean, they get benefits themselves from doing it, but it's a lot of work to put on themselves, to help others have a good time. And it's a very important role, and it's something in role playing games and so on that's very important to have a good person that's able to do that well, really enlivens that experience, right? If you're able to do that well. And so aspects of that here, if you're taking that time to do those conversions and personalize your minis, or just a custom paint scheme or whatever, or something unique, it instantly inspires others around you, and suddenly gets their minds working and their thoughts and things they could do and that sort of thing. Even just simply naming your character or those sort of things are great as well, from like a lore perspective, that sort of thing. You start to get that inspiration going in other people, and I think that's a really fun aspect of this. Something that a shared experience that you get to inspire others, and they start thinking of their own cool ideas and things they'd like to do for another project or an army that they've got, and that sort of thing. It's infectious. It spreads around, and I think that's a really wonderful aspect of doing these sorts of things, is that it does become a community of a shared experience. And I think that's one of the great things about our hobby, right? We all get to live in this little bubble world together. I talk about that a lot too. It's like a safe space, right? We're all here to step outside the normal rigors of the world and come to this space. It's a protective space, and it's about joy and fun and having a good time. And that's what this is for everyone. It's inclusive. Everyone gets to experience it. We all have creative urges inside of us that we can express, no matter what skill level you are, no matter what you think about yourself generally in terms of art or all those sorts of things. When you enter this hobby, you get to engage in it in the way that you want. You can take it or leave it, as much or as little as you like. Even if you're the person that pays to get the models painted, you're still an appreciator of the art form. You're you're still consuming it in that way, and it still inspires you, because you're still making choices, creative choices. You're still choosing the faction, the units, etc., the color schemes, that sort of thing. You're still creating that narrative when you're on the gaming tabletop and you're playing your games with them. So no matter what level of this hobby you are, whether you're at that end or the other end where you're completely converting everything and painting everything uniquely and all those sorts of things, no matter where you fit on that spectrum, you're still engaged in that creative process and that narrative, that sort of built up world, and that thing that we all love. And I think that's really, really great. And so inspiring people and getting them to think about those things more is great. I mean, there's really no downside to it. It's a win-win for everyone. It's a win for you, win for them, and that enriches our hobby space. So I think that all those things are really great, and when you look on YouTube and different videos that people have done, often some of the bigger ones are these like personalized conversion videos and little groups of videos where they're sort of documenting their process to like doing some sort of cool converted thing. All the big YouTubers, some of their biggest videos are those sorts of narratives, those sorts of videos, because they're fun things. People want to watch that. They want to see those things grow and all of those sorts of things, because it's something we're all interested in, even if we don't know. We like being told stories. We like that part of that's in us, right? And so in the hobby, it's no different. We enjoy those things, and that's something that you can engage in. It doesn't have to be something that you always have to watch someone else do. So you can inspire others yourself. You can do that. It's perfectly free, and everyone can engage in it. It's a wonderful part of being human. So I urge you to give it a go, even if it's just a simple name for your character on the base, or just a simple change of color when you're painting something. All those things are cool. It doesn't have to be a 10-page, essay on the background of your character, although it can be, whatever you want. But it's definitely something positive, and I would highly recommend it. So I think that's where we'll leave today. I think I've ranted on enough about this topic, and that sort of thing. But I think it's a really fun thing to do. So I highly recommend, and if you guys have got your own little conversions or ideas, feel free to put them in the chat. We can have a conversation about it further down there. But I think this has been a fun one. I hope you've enjoyed this vlog, and we'll see how I've gone with my own little conversion here on my Chaos Dwarf, and we'll see what the finished paint job is like and my closing thoughts. All right, let's get to it. Well, one Chaos Dwarf Sorcerer Lord to enter the army. Let's take a look. So he's ready to lead, and I'm really happy with him. He's really cool. So this has been in my head for a while, and I'm really happy to be, adding him to the collection. It's going to be cool. He's magnetized, so we can come up with some fun mounts for him later on at some point in the future. I'll definitely try to do something like that for the channel. I think that'll be a cool video to put him on different mounts. That's cool. So yeah, but for the moment, he's going to be on his tactical rock, and I think that's cool for him for now. But I hope you've enjoyed this vlog, and I guess the start to the year has been eventful, and hopefully we can continue that and do some really cool videos for the year and all that sort of thing. I'm looking forward to it. So yeah, as I said, this year's been a better start than last year, so that's cool. And I definitely want to do some more for this old world army for sure. Convert some more heroes, that's cool. So I've got a few more ideas. I think this dwarf is going to have a brother, probably a Chaos Dwarf Lord, to go with the sorcerer. I think that'd be really cool. There's that other model in the Warcry box that has the whip, and I think that'd make a really nice one to pair with this, so then you could have both of them together. I think that'd be really cool. But we'll see how we go. So yeah, it's looking good though. So yeah, I'll leave a nice image for this one at the end in the paint list I normally do, but I hope you've enjoyed this. Please hit the like button, subscribe, it really helps me out, and I guess I'll catch you on the next one.